Millions of people are living in fear in America. They're in fear of being exposed as illegal immigrants. They have a fear of being sent back to a country they may not even remember. They are the so-called dreamer generation, and their stories are next here on It's Your Call. Hello everyone, it's good to have you with us. I'm Lynn Doyle. The so-called dreamer generation is made up of teens and young adults who were brought to the U.S. illegally by parents or relatives. Now, only having known life as Americans, how should they be treated? Should they be treated as illegal immigrants, or should they be given an expedited path to citizenship? That's our topic today, so if you'd like to join in with your thoughts or your opinions, you can start emailing me right now. I'm at lynn@lynndoyle.net. Arnold Osorio is a member of that so-called dreamer generation. He's also known as a dreamer. He came to the U.S. from Mexico at the age of 10. He's now 23 and a college student at Rutgers University. And when he was 16, he wanted to get a job to help his family, and that's when he learned that he couldn't because he was illegal. He didn't even know what that meant, but it soon changed his life. Arnold, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thank you very much for
So when you say that you were 16, you wanted to help your family, and you learned that you couldn't get a job because you were illegal, that it changed your life.
Exactly.
Tell me how it did.
Well, like I said, I mean, when I came to this country, I was 10 years old, and you know, just living a normal life as a kid. You know, playing around, having friends. When I turned 16, I just like every children wants to help out their family. So I wanted to get a job to help out my mom because obviously I haven't seen my dad since I was like 4 or 5 years old. So my mom's the one who's been supporting me from all the way. So having, see my mom working every single day, having 2 jobs, it's very stressful. And so I wanted to help out. And one day I asked her if I can have permission to find a job to help her out. At that day, she told me that I was illegal. I couldn't help her out. I couldn't do anything.
Did you know what that meant, to be illegal, to be here illegally, undocumented, and that it was essentially breaking the law?
I had a small idea of it, but I wasn't really paying attention of it. Like I said, I was a kid. But when she told me about it, and she told me exactly what illegal means, every single stuff of it, I got scared because I didn't know that. I thought I was doing the right thing. I didn't know I was breaking the law. So I literally felt like I had a wall in front of me. I had, when you're a kid, your dreams, you wanted to have you want to do a lot of things. So when she told me that, and I found out all this stuff, I literally felt like I had a wall in front of me.
So your mother is here?
No, she's back in Mexico.
She's back in Mexico now. Was she here legally or illegally?
Illegally too.
So you had the fear of not only having that wall in front of you, but that perhaps your mother might be exposed.
Exactly. After I found out about that, it started to be more stressful for me because, seeing my mom going to work and not knowing if I was going to see her coming back to home, it was really scary. It was really scary. It's just an experience that I really cannot explain. You really got to leave it so you can see what it's about.
A lot of people who are watching this might not understand how people who are here as undocumented workers are able to find work. For your mom, for example, how was she able to get work, and what kind of work did she have to do?
Well, she's working in the restaurant businesses. Most of the time it was under the table, just like everyone else. So that's the only way she knew how to get a job. And I'm pretty sure everyone is going through the same thing.
And as you became aware of the situation and realized that you were here under these circumstances, did you ever have the fear that every time someone knocked at the door or a police cruiser came by your home that you thought they might be here for us?
Yes. When you're illegal, you're really scared to anything. You're really scared to cops. That's like, when you're driving, you see a cop, you're real scared. You don't know exactly what's going to happen tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. You really don't know. You just live in that very second that you're living right now. So when you go to sleep, you go to sleep scared. You got to pray, like, what's going to happen. When you go to work, you got to pray again because you don't know if you're coming back to see your children.
Were most of the people in your community in the same situation as you and your mom?
Yeah, most of them.
So it was kind of an entire collective group of people who kind of watched out for each other, said, hey, you know, this is how we handle these particular kinds of situations. Here's what you do if someone asks you this.
Exactly.
So essentially, to be honest, you have to kind of live a lie every day, don't you?
Yes, exactly.
What kind of impact does that have on you, living a lie 24/7?
I mean, I'm not angry because for what she did. I mean, every mom wants their best for the children's. I'm very thankful for what she did. But I mean, like I said, it impacts me so dramatically because, like I said, I have a lot of dreams. When I was 16, I wanted to become a doctor. I love helping people, and when I found out about that, I couldn't do anything. So it was very, very stressful.
And yet now you are a college student.
Yes.
You are pursuing a college education and the dreams that are associated with that. How are you able to do that?
Very generous people helped me. They helped me go to college. I was lucky. Like right now, I'm living the best moment I ever lived. Well, I'm in DACA. I got DACA. Basically, it's the new form that is actually that Obama did a year ago. So it's been helping me a lot. I was able to go to college. I'm going to graduate next year from Rutgers University on business, and like I said, I'm just looking forward to all of those to do great things.
So this so-called DREAM Act and some of the provisions that are associated with you are enabling you to live the American dream.
Yes, correct.
Okay. We want to know what you think about this story. We're going to continue our conversation with Arnold in just a moment, but we invite you to be part of the discussion. You can email me at lynn@lynndoyle.net. I'm going to bring in the rest of our panel here to get some perspective on Arnold's story, including Jan Ting, who is a professor of law at Temple University Beasley School of Law. He's also a senior fellow with the Foreign Policy Research Institute and served as an assistant commissioner at the Immigration and Naturalization Service in the U.S. Department of Justice in the 90s. Also joining us is David Benyon, who is an immigration attorney who's based in Philadelphia. He's also on the boards of directors of the Pennsylvania Immigration and Citizenship Coalition and Juntos, a community-based organization in South Philadelphia. Rounding out the panel is Deborah D. Rainey, who calls herself the Compassionate Lawyer, who's a criminal, family law, and general practitioner in Philadelphia. She also hosts For the People, Law in Plain Language, an internet radio legal talk show. Welcome all of you to the show. I'm interested to know what you think when you hear this story. I mean, this is the face of the dreamer generation. Deborah, what do you think? You're the compassionate lawyer.
Lynn,
should we all have more compassion for young people like Arnold?
Because of young people like Arnold, the first thing we have to do is stop calling it an immigration problem and recognize that we have folks living in our midst who do everything that we do every day but can't benefit from those programs out there for us. Secondly, I'd like to say from hopefully a lot more folks that feel like me, Arnold, we want to say thank you for sticking it out, no matter how hard it has to be, especially with Mom not being here.
Exactly.
The fact that we have to have a conversation about this, Lynn, is pretty heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking.
And David, unfortunately, heartbreaking is what you see every day. This is not a single story to you. This is something that happens in millions of homes across the country.
That's definitely true. I have more clients who are facing deportation than I can take on. There's a lot of work for me and for other immigration lawyers. And while people like Arnold, who meet certain requirements, having been brought here as children, have a measure of protection, not everyone who came here as a child is protected from deportation, and certainly not their parents. And I would argue we're really in an ongoing crisis situation where we're in an age of mass deportations, and it's breaking up families.
When you say mass deportations, we talk about immigration, but we very rarely talk about deportation. It is happening on a regular basis, an annual basis?
Yes, in every community around the country, including so-called sanctuary cities,
Right.
Immigration enforcement is very active, and we're at a new norm, a new default level of about 400,000 deportations every year under this administration, which is a record high.
Yeah.
Have you experienced individuals that you are close to being deported?
I currently heard about two stories of friends of mine that actually got deported too, and they sent them back to their countries. it was very stressful. I mean, all just seeing all their families trying to get their family member back, but they couldn't. So it's very sad about it.
Well, I have to say, as an INS veteran, that deportation is a tool if you're going to have a limit on immigration, a numerical limit on immigration. How do you enforce a numerical limit on immigration? You say no to people, and if they come anyway, then what do you do? If you're going to enforce that limit, deportation is one of the tools that's there. Now, you know, the number 400,000, I think, is an artificial number. I think the administration has ginned up that number to show how tough they are on immigration by running people through the court system that had not previously been run through the court system, so they could run up their numbers. But I mean, the reality is we have to make a choice. Are we going to allow unlimited immigration to the United States regardless of how many people come, or are we going to enforce a limit? If you enforce a limit, deportation is part of that. Now, the Dreamers are the most sympathetic subset of the illegal alien population. I think there's a lot of support for some relief for them, and I don't know whether it's going to pass or not.
Right.
There's a political gridlock in Washington, as everyone knows. But
Really? Just in.
but that's the most sympathetic subset, and
We're
most
breaking
likely
news
group
here.
to get relief.
All right, I have to take a quick break on that note. All humor aside, it's a very serious situation. So we want to give you an opportunity to weigh in and tell us what you think. What would you do with the so-called dreamer generation? Would you fast track them? Would you give them a break? Or would you send them back? Should they in fact get an expedited path to citizenship? You tell us what you think. After hearing Arnold's story, it's just one of millions that's happening every day in this country. Email me your thoughts, lynn@lynndoyle.net. Find us on Facebook under Lynn Doyle or Lynn It's Your Call Doyle, and you can also follow me on Twitter. Welcome back to It's Your Call. I'm Lynn Doyle. We're continuing our series of discussion on immigration, and we're focusing on this particular hour on America's dreamer generation. And that's the dreamers, that's what they're called because they were brought here as young children, maybe even infants, by parents or family members who were not here legally. And now this is the only life they've ever known. What do we do with them when they come of age? Should we send them back to a country perhaps they don't know anything of? They have no contacts there, they know nothing about it? Or should we give them an expedited path to citizenship? You can weigh in on that, and by doing that, you can do it at lynn@lynndoyle.net. More in the show. We're going to talk to some more dreamers, but right now we're talking to Arnold Osorio, who is 23 years old. He's a college student. He's been telling us about his life as a so-called member of this dreamer generation. You probably felt a huge amount of relief when you were able to get that documentation last year as a result of President Obama's executive order that at least gave you some relief that you don't have to worry about being deported at every turn.
Exactly.
You could come here and speak about this freely.
Yes.
And not feel concerned that you're going to lose your
life
as you know it.
Exactly. It was a big relief because it was, you know, like everyone says, when a door closes, another one opens. I literally felt like I can start dreaming again. I can start following my career, the things that I wanted to do. Like I said, I wanted to be. My dream was to become a doctor. I wanted to be a pediatrician. But in order for you to be a pediatrician, it's a lot of money and it's a lot of time. And unfortunately, when you're a college student and you don't have your legal status good, that means you got to pay everything up front. You're not getting no financial aid.
I mentioned during the break that I felt like since the president could enact this administrative order that protects people like Arnold, why can't we compartmentalize this issue of immigration instead of trying to solve it comprehensively? It seems like even if we could piece away at it inch by inch, that it would be helping millions of people.
Well, that's what the House Republicans are proposing. They have passed legislation to deal with science, technology, engineering, and mathematics students. There is a lot of talk from leading Republicans that they would support dedicated relief for the dreamer generation, just narrowly targeted at that group. And I think there's a lot of resistance to that, particularly from Democrats who say no, that they're literally holding all of these targeted bills hostage to the big comprehensive bill, I think because they know that a lot of their ideas would not pass pass individually, including the amnesty. It can only pass as part of a big comprehensive bill.
Well, what are the Democrats then saying to someone like Arnold or to other guests that we've had on this show that no, they're going to be deported, he's going to be sent back to a country he hasn't seen since he was 9 years old?
I mean, I could just as easily say that the Republicans are holding the comprehensive bill hostage by refusing to allow it to come up for a vote in the House. It would have enough votes based on the Democrats who would vote for it and the smaller number of Republicans who would support the current Senate bill. I think that at the end of the day, pragmatism will come back into the picture, and that both parties may consider a more piecemeal approach, as Jan has proposed. But then you do get that question, what happens to the people who are left out?
Right.
And some of the bills that the Republicans have proposed, unfortunately, are, I would say, poison pills and would actually make things worse.
Well, of course, we all know that when there's a huge comprehensive issue, that just gives members of Congress more things to fight about. And, you know, that's why it seems like in this country to a lot of people that things don't get done. We want to know if you think that way or if you have a suggestion or a solution to the immigration issue. We've now said that we're not calling it a problem. I'm going to go to the telephone lines where we're joined by Angel. She's 19. She's a Pennsylvania dreamer who was born in Venezuela and came to the U.S. with her family when she was just 3 years old. She's joining us now. It's nice to have you with us, Angel.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Do you feel optimistic that you're going to be able to become a legalized American citizen?
Yes, I do. One day, I truly do. I truly see my future one day as being a citizen and, you know, pledging in Philadelphia and, you know, being able to be granted those opportunities such as voting and so much more. So I definitely see it.
And what do you think needs to be done in order for you to have the right to become an American citizen? What would you like to say to Congress if you were able to speak before it?
I think that we need to focus on making things happen and happen now. We can't keep pushing things forward. So immigration reform is really important. Passing the DREAM Act and making sure that these dreamers such as myself and the thousands of others have the opportunity to live the American dream since we've lived here for so long. So we need to make sure that we enforce it and we keep pushing for it or else it'll never happen. So,
and if it doesn't happen, we need to tell people how that impacts you. You said you can't vote. You have an entire generation living in this country that's not able to vote for its representatives. How does that impact you?
It impacts me a lot, especially since I'm so interested in politics and law. I want to be a lawyer, so I'm so up to date with anything that's happening in the political world, you know, just surrounding me, whether it's my community or not. So it's very important to me, and I don't take those things for granted. For example, not being able to vote for Obama was definitely something that definitely affected me because I really wanted to, you know, let my voice be heard
Right.
and make that decision.
Angel, thank you so much, and I wish you the best of luck. I have to tell you something. It's heartwarming to hear someone like you who wants to vote and who wants to contribute to American society. Then there are 19-year-olds who were born here who don't get up out of bed and don't vote on election day. So I commend you for wanting to be involved and keep up the fight.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Certainly. Thank you.
All right,
Thank
have
you
a
for
nice-
calling in. You know, we put this question on Facebook, and you can only imagine the kind of response that we got. And some of it was, you know, I mean, I have to say I was really surprised at how volatile some of the reaction was when we asked particularly if there should be amnesty for anyone who is here illegally. Paul writes in and says, the system is not right. I wish there was some way to fix it the right way because I myself had a lot of problems when I was trying to bring my wife over to this country where I was born and raised. Throughout the process, I felt like I wasn't even part of this country. Mike says, if you're here illegally, no way do you get amnesty. Go back. And Bill says, what about the 28-year-old college grad who was brought here illegally as a 6-year-old? That's exactly the topic that we're talking about here, Bill. We're saying what happens to these so-called dreamers if they were brought here by kids? As kids, they had nothing to do with it. That's the answer. That's the question, actually, not the answer. We're giving you a chance to give us the answer. If you want to do that, do it during the break. Lynn at LynnDoyle.net is where you're going to find me. I'll be right back. You can go to my Facebook page and find out what some of the viewers who have been watching this show have to say about the dreamer generation. And when people say in very strong terms that they are against amnesty, that they would deport people who are found to be here illegally or without their proper papers, I'd like to know what you think about that. So you can either respond on my page or you can respond to me at lynn@lynndoyle.net. Because, Deborah, I wanted to get your perspective on breaking up families. You know, it's one thing to say, let's deport people who have broken the law or who are not helping American society. But what about families that would get otherwise broken up and perhaps never see each other again if deportation is the only answer?
Lynn, people can say what they want to say, but until you see it and actually are a part of it. Prior to becoming a lawyer, I was an immigration officer. Back in the day, we were called detention enforcement officers. Now they're called immigration enforcement agents. The one story that I tell everyone that led me to go to law school was a lady came here 6 months old from a small country in West Africa, and I'll leave it at that. She was a 44-year-old RN. Met a guy online, went down to Miami, ended up bringing back a package for him that unfortunately for her contained a kilo of cocaine. She was a registered licensed RN in the state of New York. All things being said, she was ordered deported. My job was to take folks like her back to their country. And hearing her story that she came here at 6 months old, never been arrested before in her life, paid taxes, paid real estate taxes in Long Island, and had to go back to a country where 3 generations of her family was here. I gave that woman on the plane every dollar I had in my pocket because it broke my heart. 2 months later, I took the LSAT and went to law school. So it's fine and good to say, oh, let's do this, let's get rid of all of them. And until you see it and experience it, hopefully you have a heart and your feelings will change.
When you said that they made that change from your title, we probably spent more money on making that change from your title than we've spent on resolving some of the issues that are facing
paying
people
attention
today.
to the folks that there are folks that we're going to say are persona non grata that we want not to be here. But people like Albert and the lady that I'm talking about, those aren't them. It's that small percentage of folks that we want out.
But we're not in a position to be able to differentiate, are we, David? It's just that, I mean, we don't have the resources, there's not enough money, you can't really, with millions and millions of undocumented workers in this country, and not enough immigration officers, you really can't differentiate who the bad guys are from the good guys.
Well, the laws too often don't permit it,
Right.
this differentiation
Right.
between the people that most people agree should be allowed to stay here and those who shouldn't. And there's not enough flexibility for even immigration officers like Deborah was, or judges, to make those judgment calls. The default position is deport someone if they don't have their papers.
I wanted to have Arnold on because I wanted to put a face on this so-called dreamer generation so that we understand. I'd love to be able to talk to other undocumented workers, but for obvious reasons, they don't want to come on because they have fear of exposure. What message would you give to the people who are watching this show all over the country? What do they need to know about people who are here, like yourself, who were here illegally?
Basically, is don't have any fear. That's the most important thing. You got to stand up. You got to risk it. Without risking, there's no victory. So you got to stand up, face it, and let people know what exactly you want and what exactly you want to do. Because you never know. There's people like I went to school from high school. There were people that wanted to become doctors, lawyers, but they couldn't do it because they didn't have a legal status.
But first and foremost, you want to be an American.
Exactly. That's what I want to be.
Okay. Well, we wish you the best of luck in that.
Thank
Great
you.
to have you with us. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you very
Jan
much.
Ting, Deborah Rainey, thank you so much for being here. And of course, David Benyon, good to have you back as well. If you were unable to get through and you want to let us know what you think or you have questions or comments, email me directly at lynn@lynndoyle.net. Thank you for watching. See you next time.